Wait, who was at the Tank Davis fight? Madonna.
Yeah. Tank Davis brought out Madonna to come to the fights.
I just realized we can't hear Jason. like, oh wait, hang on, Jason. I think you're muted.
Now he's frozen.
Your mic.
There you go.
Yeah, we got you. We got you. All right, you're clear.
I didn't see. How old is Madonna?
Like 70, right?
Oh my God, is she that old?
She's got to be, because she was like, I remember her when I was like 5 years old, and I'm in my 40s now. She's got to be
in the 60s. I'll say mid 60s.
63.
Yeah.
Yeah, she turned 64 on August 16th.
Jason put her in her 70s.
If she's telling the truth about her age, you know how celebrities are.
Didn't Madonna dated Pac for a while?
She did.
See, I look at it like sometimes celebrities, you say you dated someone just to say you did it. Like, that's for like, if this would have been, 20 plus years after the fact, that'd have been a good group chat discussion for Pac and the homies.
Yeah.
That'd have been a great group chat discussion.
It would have.
Yeah.
Madonna and Pac.
Well, Pac would be 50-something years old too right now. So
That's
wild.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah, Big would have just turned 50 at the end of May. Big would have turned May 21st. Big would have been 50.
50-year-old.
Crazy.
Is Jay 50 yet?
Yeah.
Jay's 50, yeah.
He's got to be.
Yeah, Jay's over 50 because Jay got into the game older than most of them.
Yeah. Jay's 52.
Man, these icons getting old up here.
That's cool though to me because I was like when I was a kid. If they rap with a young man's game, like remember Game was rapping about Jay being 30 something and still rapping. Now he's trying to drop an album. He's dropping an album at 42. So hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for the older rapper tours. I couldn't see him when they were young and hot, so I can go see him now and I can afford a ticket.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, this is wild. Looking at some of this, like Jay, Cube, and Puff are all 52 years old.
Oh man. Oh man. Wow.
I mean, it's better than the alternative, which is, of course, Big and Pac were 24. And be 24 forever. So it's better than that. But it's wild to think about those guys being in their 50s now.
I love to see it too, though, because obviously I'm not that age, but I see them and they look cool. Like you think when you're younger, 52, you're so old, like you'll be outdated and you won't have any kind of style. Like all those dudes, Buff, Cube, and Jay, like stylists, they're cool, they look good, Yeah, I love it.
I remember thinking 30 was ancient. I was like, man, 40. I was like, oh my God. Now I got to 40. Was like, if I could take what I know in my 40s and move it back to my like late 20s, early 30s, I'd have had a ball. Get away from the cheap liquor. Learn early. I mean, who didn't drink Boone's Farm if they were doing something when they were young? I mean, because all you can get your hands on. I mean. Thunderbird. I'm really telling on myself right now, but yeah.
I ain't had none of these drinks. Thunderbird. I ain't never heard no Thunderbird.
Oh man. Oh, you ain't never heard no Thunderbird?
No.
Thunderbird and grape Kool-Aid? Come on now. Come on now. You ain't never had no oldie?
I've had some oldie.
So that's
what made me not want to drink beer. That's why I don't drink beers, because I had some oldie. I was like, this is disgusting. I don't want this.
Some of them I've never had. Like we all know, Schlitz is like a guaranteed fight in the summer. It's getting hot outside of. I mean, if this weather stops being crazy, pretty soon there's going to be some Schlitz malt liquor fights.
Oh man, that's all bad.
There's going to be some debate over sports, and they're going to have one too many cans, and some buddies are going to be swinging on each other. I mean, it happens every summer. It's going to be a LeBron Jordan debate or something crazy, and now we're fighting, and then you wake up the next day, have no idea why you were mad at your homie.
Be fighting over the Kings taking Shaden Sharp at 4. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. I told you should have taken Shaden Sharp at 4.
Chet Holmgren slipped and they didn't take him.
So isn't it? So I've thought about that. We keep talking about like a player slipping out of the top 3. Isn't that going to immediately scare a Kings fan? if one of those guys slips out of the top 3, isn't it like immediately, oh my God. I remember when Thomas Robinson fell in the draft too.
Yeah. I just think there's so many examples of where Kings fans could be scared of the draft.
They've been scored on so many different occasions.
Yeah, I mean, even like when they've been at 5 a couple of times, and you just say, you know what? There's 5 guys. Who was ever at 5, you take them. Once it was DeMarcus, then it was De'Aaron. You say, okay. Even then, they're like, I don't know. Why is that guy at 5? I don't know. Maybe you start overthinking it. So I mean, it's always going to be something. There's always going to be a reason to be nervous around the draft if you're a Kings fan. I completely get it. Because I'd be nervous too.
We've seen it all. Everything that goes wrong, like we've seen it all. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, a guy sitting there, you think they got to take him, and then they don't. Like I thought the Kawhi Clay year, they got to take one of those 2 guys, right? I'm like, it's pretty simple. And it was like, no, we need a point guard, and we take a point guard who's not really a point guard. He's really just a small 2. When you could have took a 2 like Clay, So I mean, there's always, we're not even going to get into the recent, the Bagley stuff, but I think the last couple of drafts, people are maybe trust Monty a little bit, and if somehow Monty gets a point guard again, people are going to lose their minds.
Well, they might get ready to lose their minds, but
how do you reconcile that though? Like if Jaden Ivey is legitimately the best player in the draft, how do you, or at 4 for the Kings?
You take him.
That's what, yeah, okay.
You take him. I don't care. I'm a firm believer in you're in the lottery. Like for as long as the Kings have been in the lottery, they have an amazing lack of talent. You shouldn't be in the lottery like the year they didn't have their pick, 15 to 16 years. And this roster should not be so devoid of talent. So you just got to get some talent, you get it. I don't care what position the guy plays. I mean, you passed on Luka in part because, you can't have 2 lead ball handlers. Yes, you can. It doesn't matter what you call it, in today's NBA. You get the talent. Figure it out later. Don't sit around and go, you know what? We really need a 4, though. No, you get the best player.
So one of the things that me and Damian have been talking about today, and Damian brought up a great point. You're hearing all these things about Jaden Ivey, right? He's shooting up the draft boards. You get executives talking about he's looking like Russell Westbrook. Hey, looking like Dwayne Wade, Ja Morant. Damian asked the question, well, why is he going number 4 then? If he's looking like all these guys, why isn't he going number 1? Like I've heard, and I like Jabari Smith Jr., but I've heard I haven't heard Tim Duncan when talking about him. I haven't heard David Robinson or anything like that. I've heard LaMarcus Aldridge, right, who's really good. But if you're talking about Wade and Westbrook, wouldn't you take them over LaMarcus Aldridge? Why isn't anybody talking about Ivy being number 1 if these comparisons are what keep coming up for him?
I think even to this day, we're always going to be enamored with guys who are 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet tall. You're always going to be, no matter what we talk about positionless basketball, teams playing small, you can get a bargain on a big later on. Teams are always going to be enamored with the tall guys. You see it every year. If there's a legit, talent that's, the Kings did it, with Bagley. Teams are always going to be enamored with the guy who's almost 7 feet tall. And I just think that's just a big part of it. But then, I'm with you. If this guy can be Ja Morant, if this guy can be a Dwayne Wade type, I don't care. I'm taking him number 1 and I'm sorting the rest out later. But I just think there's always going to be a fascination with the big guy. Whereas if you look at the history of, just the draft, the guys who come in and become stars are generally the smaller guys. And if you're a bit, the bigs can, it seems like people maybe say the misses tend to be more the big guys. I think because teams will go for the big guy sooner. But if Ivy is really that dude and he's there at 4, you got to take him. If he's really going to be a guy like that, to me, it's a no-brainer.
You mentioned the fascination with guys who are 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet, but I feel like once you get to 7 feet, that fascination becomes fear, and you start worrying about feet and ankles, and you start worrying about like a player's with Chet, you're worried about the fact that they say he's 190 pounds. He looked like he about 110. But you worry about like it feels like once you hit that 7 foot, 6'11" and a half, that's a tall dude. 7 feet. Oh boy, like let's check his structure. Let's check his feet. Let's make sure I think there's a fear that hits when you cross that 7 foot marker.
That's that joke why KD won't say he's 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
He's 6'10", he's 6'11", he's 6'12". No one wants to call him a 7-footer. Yeah. So because it's always going to be that fear, because it's like, oh, once a big guy gets hurt, it's almost as if there's never been an injury-prone player under 6'10". So it's like, a big guy gets hurt. Oh no! Like if that's the case, Memphis should have given up on Jaren Jackson.
Yeah.
But I also think we can't ignore the fact that these guys are so young. So a lot of times they're big and young, and then you add the amount of just stress on the body going from basically high school to the NBA in 2 years. Guys are going to get hurt. It's probably just bound to happen. This is why the teams try to incorporate the rest days and all that stuff. I mean, teams barely practice anymore. So I mean, I think everyone's aware of it. But yeah, a big guy gets hurt, you start hearing, oh no, there's Sam Bowie. It's like, man, dude sprained his ankle. Calm down. Like, I don't know. When a big guy gets hurt, he never recovers.
A 6'5" dude gets hurt. No one goes, man, there's Brandon Roy right there. Like, yeah, go on.
It's like you look at a guy like De'Aaron's career, he's missed a bunch of games. Lonzo Ball's missed a ton of games. But why did they only call Marvin Bagley injury prone? They've all missed a bunch of games.
We got the only guy under 7 feet that's injury prone here, Marvin Bagley. The only one.
Well, John missed a bunch of games this year.
Yeah,
that's why I was surprised.
25 games or something like that.
I was like, how did he win Most Improved when he missed almost 30 games? And maybe because I also thought John was already really good. But guys, Zion, well, it's a different story, but Zion's played in 60 NBA games, it feels like, in 3 years. And he made an all-star team somewhere in there. Brandon Ingram misses a ton of games. I mean, a lot of guys miss a lot of games, but when you get into that Marvin Bagley AD height, you missing a ton of games makes you it's a different thing. Now you're not tough. Come on, fight through it. But a small guy can have the exact same injury. Take your time and get right. A big guy, play through it. So a lot of it, I think, is just, and I think I even had that talk with Vlade years ago, that either when a big guy gets hurt, no one wants to hear that a guy 6'10", 230 is hurt. Tough it out. So that to me is another layer to this thing we're talking about.
Hey, Jay, I want to bring you into a conversation that me and Damien had extensively yesterday. And it was about De'Aaron Fox. And so there was a list on Hoops Hype of like a trade value list, top 100 trade value guys. And we know how these things work. You talk about contract and age, and that goes into trade or whatever. But De'Aaron Fox ended up coming up 78th on that list. And the guys in front of him were guys that stuck out to me, like Mikal Bridges, Lou Dort, Bogdan Bogdanovic, right? Like, these are good ball players, but come on, man. Like
79th.
Yeah, man. It's so we're looking at the whole situation, whereas we know De'Aaron hasn't won. We know, the Kings haven't been successful. He takes some of the brunt of that. And we understand how the game is played. But do you think that it's getting a little overboard with how people look at this guy? He's a super talented basketball player. And me and you, we talk extensively all the time about, he don't have this dog in him and all this other stuff. And we get that. But even without having the dog in him, allegedly, he's still putting up like 25 points a night. Like, it's a little crazy with how people, kind of write him off.
The extremes on De'Aaron are just crazy to me, because 2 years ago, people were ready to fight. No, we don't. He's better than John Morant. He'll be an all-star watch. Now it's like, oh, he's the worst. God, let's get rid of him. We'll take anything from him. It's like, to me, there's two types of max players in the NBA. There's max players because you're a franchise guy. So that's your LeBrons, your KDs, your Stephs, your Jaws. And then there's your max because you're the best player maybe on a bad team. that's your Andrew Wiggins. That's, you know, that's your De'Aaron. That's maybe, you know, those are those guys where they're super talented, and by the way of the structure, they get paid. But are they a franchise guy? No. And I think because of De'Aaron's contract, people knock him down. But that's the system. I think if you put De'Aaron kind of like Wiggins in a situation where you're not depending on De'Aaron to be your guy every night, you'd be like, wow, this guy is crazy talented. Like 2 years ago, you wouldn't have told me Andrew Wiggins would be an all-star. You know, but you put him in a situation where now he's like the fourth most important player. He looks great because now, you know, the weight of the team isn't on him. Because they used to kill Wiggins in Minnesota. I remember I went out there one year. They would make a joke about how, yeah, he's so athletic, but they had like a streak of how many times he got like 3 or few rebounds. Like he would just like get like 1 rebound in a game sometime. They couldn't understand that. You know, so I just think a lot of that is, I think that a couple of years ago, De'Aaron was maybe overvalued. Now, but come on now, there's not 78 guys in the league I'd take ahead of De'Aaron.
Right.
I mean, Lou Dort's, come on. No shade to Lou. Come on now. That's just disrespectful.
And one of the things that I brought up, somebody like Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges has a bigger contract. It's not De'Aaron Fox's, but he's I think it's like $90 million total because he got the extension. And you know, you talk about De'Aaron Fox. Some people might say, "Oh, he's putting up stats on a bad team. Somebody's got to score 20."
Yeah.
Well, Mikal Bridges, even you trade him with De'Aaron Fox, Mikal Bridges ain't averaging 25 points a game with the Kings.
No.
Like, so and he was like 30 spots ahead of De'Aaron Fox, and I was just like, man, I know why they make the list. It's cool. Like, you're not taking it any type of way, but it's like, man, it's crazy to see, man.
Yeah, a lot of times when you're on a winning team, all of a sudden what you do looks 20 times better. You know, just the perception of it. You know, you go from being a guy who's filling the stat sheet versus I put up empty stats. You know, you know, I mean, there's times where people will say about that, you know, I'm not say about Steph, like, well, Steph got a lot of points in the fourth when the game was decided. You know, on a good team, Steph is putting the nail on the team, on the opponent. On a bad team, he's getting empty points. It's all about how you want to perceive it. Right. And I just think a lot of it just has to go back to, until De'Aaron wins, no one's going to give him credit for, you know, being an elite player, but maybe you draft the guy to go with him, and then you put that guy with De'Aaron. It's a bonus. The whole perception of De'Aaron changes. I just think a lot of De'Aaron's never lied to us about who he is. I think a lot of us put our expectations on De'Aaron for what he wasn't. Now, people wanted him to be this super leader and this all the time intense guy. That's just not him, and he's never lied and said he was. So I'm always amazed when folks go, he's not the vocal leader. I wrote plenty of stories where De'Aaron was like, that's just not who I am. I'm working on it, you know, and if you got to try to work on that, it's just not who you are. And to me, you don't fault the player for that. The team has to know that when they sign him to an extension and say, okay, we got to bring these other guys in. I think Vlade knew that, which is why he was trying to bring those fiery guys to go with him. So, yeah, 70, man, that's, you know, but they make those lists so we can come on here and talk about them. And, you know, but yeah, there's not 78 guys in the league you take ahead of De'Aaron.
And there's not many shoe designers that you take in front of Tinker Hatfield either. You had the opportunity to talk to him recently, man. This is one of my favorite pieces that you wrote. Like, for those who aren't familiar with Tinker Hatfield, he is he was one of the original designers behind the Jordan brand, and he designed the Jordan 3. And I don't think I knew this until your article. I didn't know he designed the 11 either. I had most famously associated him with the 3, but like, you start putting a lineup of 3s and 11s out there, man. That's an iconic list of sneakers that this dude created, and you had the opportunity to rap with him recently.
Yeah, that was cool. That was, you know, just one of those, like, hey, you know, and talking to him just about being creative and bouncing creative, just going back and forth about creativity and how basketball is really the perfect sport for a creative person. Just because the game gives you so much leeway to be creative. And, you know, the greatest players in the game have always been creative on the court. You whether it be, you know, Magic with the passing, or Jordan switching from one hand to, you know, the ability to improvise. The great ones always had that, you know. So yeah, that's one of those. Wow, this is a pretty cool thing to to do. And he was cool to talk to. Definitely, I wish I could have talked to him longer. You know, I wish I could have. I would love to do like a 30-minute conversation to talk about all types of things with design. And he designed so many other things out, beyond shoes. You know, I was talking about the whole Michelob bottle thing. He's done the last couple of years. He does things with Nike still. It's just So but that three changed the game. I remember.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
That 3 changed the game, because for me, I like the ones, but when I get to the 3, I'm like, okay, now we're talking. That is still the 3 might be my favorite Jordan.
When you go down the list, I came across this after reading your article of some of the shoes designed by him. We talk about Air Max 1, Air Max 90, Jordan 14, 11, 5, 3, 6, 4, the Bo Jacksons, the Air Max, like the Hirachis, the Air Hirachi. It's like, come on, man. This is insane. Like 75% of what people say are the greatest shoes ever designed are made by this guy.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what made you come up with the 3? Like, it's so simple, yet so good.
Yeah.
And like there's things where if I would have said with the Hirachi, let me try to put this little thing over here, I would have never thought about that. Like the Air Max, such a simple shoe, but it's so versatile and it's just so clean. Yeah. The design is almost perfect. It's like how you come up with that stuff, I have no idea. But yeah, I'm a shoe junkie. So I'm always down to talk shoes with somebody, and just kind of just the business of it.
I wonder how much the explosion of that 3 is the free throw line dunk, the 88, all-star game. That was such an iconic shot of Jordan, but like those shoes are in every picture. And I don't know if you're just kind of subconsciously drawn to them, because I knew when I was 8, 9, 10, I knew when I was 15, 16, 17, I can't afford those. I ain't getting those. Don't ask for those. But I knew that was the shoe that I was always drawn to.
Hey, to that point, real quick, the 88 dunk contest and then the shot on Elo is the black ones. So that Jordan 3, just like for some people, that's probably when you got introduced to Michael Jordan and Air Jordans.
It was crazy to think about when the Jordans a couple of it's crazy about the Jordan story. The fact that he wanted to be with Adidas.
Yeah. Kept telling
the fact that Nike tried to make Magic Johnson their guy first, and the fact that the league did not want the colors on the shoe. They were like, no, you can't wear those. Now we're in a league now where you can wear whatever shoe you want, but back then it was like, no, you don't do that. Don't you wear those band shoes, Michael? Don't you dare wear those? Is that red? What are you doing?
Yeah. and essentially that made the shoes take off even more.
The greatest marketing campaign in history.
Yeah. If you want to sell something, tell us we can't have it.
Right.
That's it.
You say it's banned, we can't have it, through the roof.
Right.
Live Crew did the same thing. 2 Live Crew did the same thing.
Yeah, because you start going, well, why can't I listen to this? What's so bad? It's like, what did they say about, like, even with NWA? All publicity is good publicity. This stuff is foul. It's vulgar. Oh, really? This is America. You say vulgar and foul, that means, I got to check this out.
Yeah, we attracted. The only time
I'm getting this immediately.
The only time that didn't work is they had some shoes that had certain types of springs in them that came out about 10 years ago. NBA said you couldn't wear them. Those didn't take off.
Oh, I don't remember those.
I think Ron Artest might have been behind them, actually.
Oh, they probably like
workout shoe.
It was, as long as it wasn't those ones that could make your calves bigger. Remember those shoes? Folks is walking around, Deuce is walking around with like
around high school with them.
They called them the Olivia Christian shoes, because if you didn't have them calves popping, man, you couldn't get on her radar.
I remember Deuce used to walk around the playground at school, like walking around doing calf raises on purpose. Like, why are you walking like that?
The jump soles, man, jump soles.
Because everyone assumed, I don't know what it was about the 90s that we all assumed that you could jump high if you had big calves.
Oh yeah, Yeah,
we ignored every other part of the leg in the 90s. It was like, it's got to be about the calf. Because the shorts got long too. So the shorts was long. That's all you could see. So it was like, I got to have big calves. Now it's like, now we in a whole different era. Actually, it's not even a different era. We're just going back to the 80s.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Oh, it's just the 80s are back. The shorts are short again because it's just everything comes back. My kids get in their 20s, they'll be wearing shorts at their knees again.
That'll be nasty. We completely ignored in trying to jump higher. We completely ignored God. We just like we can do it ourselves. No,
we ignored our parents. Like we ignored everything.
We thought if we just walked around our tippy toes and wore ankle weights, we could get a 48-inch vertical. And there's some guys that just wake up and like, wow, look at this.
That's the professor, Jason Jones of The Athletic. Jason, we appreciate you as always, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you next.